Hey everybody, I'm Rousseau. I do a little work here and there, and this is the Research Workshop. This time, as discussed before, our topic is basing, and while I'm doing 6mm scale bases, you can do whatever you want. So here I have two bases. These are on pennies. You can watch the old videos if you're interested in that. The top one is painted to look like dirt. The second one I've shown before, and it has the parsley flocking as grass. These are pretty simple, so if you're interested, check the link in the description. Or hey, click my username, check out my other videos. Point being that before we just finished the texture and painted any old green color that we had on top, and this works alright, which I suppose is to say that it's a little less messy, but well, you do have to put glue on your fingers. So it is what it is, but it covers up the detail of the penny pretty well. That being said, the parsley flocking still does look a lot better, and hey, it's already green, so you don't have to paint it. But yeah, that's the point. We're going to make the pennies look better. Fingers crossed. So step number one, after I've got my penny looking like this, I'm going to get some super glue. What I have here is Craft Crazy Glue. I would not recommend Craft Crazy Glue. I wouldn't recommend anything that has the word craft on it. This particular glue has a problem sticking to anything that's not the inside of the tube, and it smells like an old folks home. So maybe you like that, and if so, I can recommend a number of quote-unquote air fresheners to you. But moving on, I gotta use it because I bought it. In addition to that, we're going to need our parsley flocking, another link in the description. It's not that old a video, you could look for it yourself, but I won't make you. And the general procedure is going to be to put super glue in limited areas on the base. It is not an exact science, but you know, a couple of drips, that's pretty good. Unless you want a whole bunch of grass on this thing, and we can talk about that in a minute. So yeah, you drip on the super glue and then get something to spread it around. I'm using a little pin from my sewing kit, mostly because it's metal and it'll be easy to get the dried super glue. Cured super glue? Either way, it'll be easy to get it off with any number of my other, probably now ruined, tools. But you spread it around, get it a pretty even thickness. Not too bad, not too bad. And once you've done that, you can sprinkle a little bit of your parsley flocking on top of that. I'm making a mess. You probably want to do this on a piece of paper, but you know, whatever. I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure and, well, heat, I suppose, to get the super glue going a little bit better. And I guess I should also mention that I have put some additives into this flocking because I knew that I was going to use super glue, and I wanted to set fairly quickly. So as I tap this off, I will mention that I put 2 big pinches of baking soda into that one gachapon ball as I was mixing it up. It probably doesn't make that much of a difference, but you know, it probably makes a difference. I need to do independent research, but it would make a boring video. Anyway, once you've tapped the thing off, you'll probably notice there's a lot of loose little bits on there. You could put more super glue on, but that's going to make things thicker when you put more of the flocking on. So I just take my finger and I rub across it as, liberally as I see fit. And when I'm done, most of those loose bits have been knocked off. Now, the reason you want to do that is that this is going to get varnished. And for that, I use Basics Matte Varnish. It is not the strongest varnish. You might go with a standard varnish. Basically, matte varnish is normal varnish cut down, but I do like some of the leaves to be a little shiny, and I like them to be protected. So, moderate-sized globs, and you get them on there, and then just move it around until it is a normal thickness. And I'm sure you're going to notice some of the looser pieces, some of the ones that I didn't blow off, moving around a bit as I do this. Really, that's fine. Later on, you can either paint over those or just accept it as another little piece of grass. Still, what you're going for is a nice finish, but still obvious coat of varnish. And once you get that, you're going to have to let it sit for a while and dry. I'm going to fast forward through that. In my case, I got some really bright lights sitting around, so that only took like a couple of minutes. But you can see now we have much better contrast between the dirt areas and the grass areas. But we have a problem, which is that the dirt and the grass are both very shiny. And I don't mind the grass being shiny, because grass is mostly water. I mean, most things are mostly water, except things that aren't. But regardless, I'm going to use my nutmeg brown from Apple Barrel, and I'm going to apply it very thinly to the dirt areas. And yes, I know this does go on very light, and yes, for all you pedantic people out there, I realize that dirt's probably not really brown. Trees aren't really brown. Grass probably isn't really green. I don't need your lip. And you should know that this is going to dry a lot darker than it looks when it goes on. That's how a lot of paint works. But really the point of this isn't to paint it, it's that the actual paint is going to be quite a bit flatter than the varnish. So now that it's dry, we hold it up and you can see that the ground is still a little shiny. It's probably still a little wet, but we have definitely helped the contrast in terms of shiny areas and less shiny areas. And at this point, it's looking pretty good. So we're going to move on. Now, here's our previously mentioned gachapon ball filled with parsley flocking. Thank you for the comments, by the way. I know it looks illicit, and I will say that I do hide it whenever we have company over, mostly because I don't want anyone to steal it. I think it's a legitimate concern. But here, we're going to talk about making bushes. I had that little tree that I showed before, and I have since added bushes to it. And there are bushes on the other, I guess, smaller little trees that I made. And that is actually one of the easiest things that you can do. So here we have the gachapon ball, and we also have the terrible craft super glue. And all you got to do is drip it. So get a few drips, and you can watch those drips sink down into there. And then we just have to pick them out with some tweezers or your hands. But, you know, I don't want to fill the entire frame with my hands. So we're going to have to be clumsy about this. And I will also mention that you can put more super glue onto these little balls that you pull out of here and drop them back in. But, you know, if you're wanting to make something really big, I don't know, make a ball of paper and super glue stuff to that. I mean, this works. And for the trees, which we're going to get into at a later date, that's not exactly an option, but maybe, you know, you can go your own way. Still, either way, we're going to go over my procedure for this, and you can adapt as you see fit. So, step one, there's going to be a lot of extra material on these, so you need to roll them around in your fingers and knock all that off. What you'll have then looks even more suggestive, even more illicit. But I assure you it's just a spice, it doesn't even taste that good. So in light of that, I'll just pick my favorite one and put it on a little dot of super glue, and that would be pretty good, but what you can't see right now is that there are little gaps all the way around the sides. And I mean, that could look fine if you assume that this particular bush probably has some kind of stem or trunk, but I don't really like the look of that. I like overgrowth. It looks very naturey if you ask me. So I'm going to apply just a little bit of super glue underneath the edge and drop some more parsley on there, tap it off. It looks all right, but I got another big gap under the other side, so I'm gonna put some glue over there, maybe a little more glue. And then, as you can imagine, more parsley. Drop it on, pack it in, get it all ready to go. And as before, tap it off. Maybe rub that with your finger a bit just to knock off the extra pieces, and, well, I'd say you're good to go. So, that is the process. And the trees we're going to get to later, it's quite a bit more involved. But it's exciting because it's more fiber arts. And that is anything that uses anything that has fibers in it. So paper, technically that's fiber arts or paper craft. And other than the pennies and the glue, I suppose, everything here is technically a fiber art. So spoiler alert, if you're interested, the trees are made out of thread. I think I said that before, but it's thread prepared a particular way. Maybe you'll find out about that next time, but I may have to hold the information hostage. Who knows? Either way, I won't be one of those people asking for 2 likes. So until next time, you've been watching the Research Workshop on Rousseau Works, and I'm Rousseau, out.